Well, welcome back to the When I Heard This podcast. My name is Nate Robinson. I'm here with Pastor Joseph Tillman, MDiv, soon to be demon. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing well, and it snowed again.
It did.
So I still, it was never going to snow again.
We're just going to talk about snow all the time
Apparently
now.
so. But anyway, yeah, it snowed again. After I said it was not going to snow, it snowed.
That's couldn't go to work.
That's just
insufficient funds.
Yeah. All right. Well,
been a whole thing. Stupid snow.
Yeah. We were not made for snow.
Nope.
The South is just not meant for snow.
No, it was like I'd be driving around and then it'd be like, oh, this part's fine. And then sliding into a ravine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's what ice does. Yeah. They told you to stay off the road.
They did.
Yeah.
But I half listened.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is about normal.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, man.
Anyway, that's how we're doing.
Yeah.
Today is a really big day.
Okay.
Because we're talking about cults.
What makes that a big day?
I don't know.
It just is.
Yeah. I just wanted to feel like it was special.
All right. It is special.
It is.
Yeah.
Because cults are amazing.
Well, no.
Amazingly
not really
weird and horrible.
Okay, we can say that. Yeah, I wouldn't say they're amazing.
Amazing doesn't always mean positive.
Okay. So we're doing a...
Jeez.
Excuse me, for whatever reason, I tend to think of amazing as like, great, wonderful, awesome.
Cults.
Okay.
And it's going to take several episodes. So if you're here watching this one, just know more to come afterwards.
Right, because there is a lot to get into.
And there's a lot of cults.
There's a whole lot of cults.
And we're going to talk about all of them
individually. No, no, we're not. Not every one of them. We are going to talk about some.
Yes.
Yes, but not all of them. We would never get done.
Yes.
Because there's just so many cults.
There's a lot.
There are.
All right. So I have to do this slower now because things are important.
Things are important.
So go to Patreon, $5. If you like the show and want to see us be able to... This isn't a threat, by the way.
Thanks for clearing that up for point one.
I just have to be serious for a second.
Right, which is so weird.
Yeah.
All right. No threats. We're not threatening you.
No, just it would help us out to be able to do more things because I'd like to be able to because we did the movie review and the talking about headlines and I had guests here. That's mostly the main thing is guests.
Yeah.
So that maybe even Joseph and I can interview together other people.
Yeah.
All the way up to my dream interview of Joel Osteen.
That's your dream interview.
Yeah.
Wow. I thought the Pope was.
Oh, yeah. The Pope.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're like the same guy. Yeah. I want to interview the Pope.
Okay. Yeah. But they're not the same guy.
Yeah.
But okay.
I want to go to the Vatican.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to sit down.
See how many walls I can get behind and how many basements deep I can go.
We want to sit down with the Pope. Yeah. So if you're listening to this from the Vatican, hook some brothers up.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's the thing. And also, we are on every social media. So if you are on a social media, find us on that social media and follow us on that social media because it's just another way to stay updated when we have episodes.
Yep. Like, subscribe, hit the notification.
Yes.
All that.
All of that.
Yes,
and
sir.
then we have a website which has merchandise, which is important. And then YouTube and Rumble and Twitter and Spotify is where we put all the video episodes. So you can watch, if you're on GoodView, you can watch the uncensored versions there.
Right.
Where Joseph swears so much more than he does on GoodView. And it's just hard to listen to sometimes.
That's okay. So that's not true. but listen and find out. How about that? We'll just leave it as a
there's
mystery.
also, basically, it's just more tangents about nonsense that we go off on that I start.
That's true.
Yeah.
If you got any comments or anything about cults, drop a little comment, put a little note in there.
Comments.
Let us know about your experience with cults.
Yeah, that's the whole point of this podcast is to start conversations among people that are diametrically opposed to each other, and we want to see you fight with us in the comments.
not.
And we want.
That's the whole point. Yeah, is we want to start fights. This is not good.
No, we want to start good theological discussions.
Right there we go.
Yes,
there we go.
All right. So, what is a cult?
I feel like this question used to be like an easy answer. Okay. So for example, if you're studying just religions at large, right? Mm-hmm. You would have defined every religion as a cult in like the historical, societal sense or sociological sense, and the fact that every religion has a systematic approach to their worship or to their religion. Mm-hmm. They have, rituals and rites and beliefs, and that actually would make them a quote unquote cult in a really broad definition. Okay. And so you would listen, if you're reading historical academic works, they might refer to the cult of Christianity, the cult of Judaism, the cult of Islam. And they're not meaning that in a negative way. It's just these religions have a system of practice. Okay. That's our system of worship. Okay. So there's that big kind of broad definition. And then there's within the Christian world, we would say cults are any group that kind of begins to steer away or move away from Orthodox Christian belief and tradition. Mm-hmm. So they've moved away from an idea of they claim they're Christian, but they would also say, but Jesus is not God, for example. Okay. So they'd have a very different understanding of heaven and hell, the kind of thing, like basic Christian doctrines. And so they're kind of moving away from that or departing from it. And then kind of the other part of it that would be kind of normally understood was that they believe that you'd have a group and they would say, we are the only ones who actually have the truth, the true understanding of the Bible. Okay. And you can only be saved if you're within our organization or within our denomination or within our church. And you go, okay, that's a cult. Because they're claiming some sense of exclusivity that all other Christians got it wrong. Only their particular group has it right.
All other Christians, not all other religions.
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So kind of defining this within the Christian sense of what a cult would be within the Christian world. Okay. But then I feel like over the last 20 years or so, the idea of what a cult is has just really morphed into this idea of anything that comes across as controlling or manipulative from leadership, kind of top down within an organization, is labeled a cult. Okay. So, for example, I'm in a church and I feel like their leaders or their pastors are being very controlling or manipulative. I might say that is a cult. All right. Okay. Instead of saying that's an unhealthy church, or instead of saying that's abusive leadership, I might use the word cult. Or, the idea of the cult of personality. I'm going to just build kind of my life around an individual is become a common phrase in, our just modern language. And so that's what I'm saying. And the idea of what the usage of cult, I feel has just been used just so much more than where it ever had been before. Okay. So you're just using that's a cult, or you might say the phrase that's cultish, like that, or that's like a cult. And I feel like when you ask what a cult is, it's almost like you have to give this myriad of definitions of, in the broadest sense, it's any group that has a sense of ritual and belief and action within their worship, right? That's a cult, right, in the broadest sense. For Christians, it's...
So everyone's a cult.
So everyone that's in a religion is in a cult, right? And I don't mean that in a negative way. That's just like a sociological way, okay? Right. But then there's the idea of what, for us as Christians, a cult is any group that claims to be Christian but has veered away from orthodox, belief and doctrine, okay? Okay. And then now I feel like it's gotten to that point of where it's anything or anyone that comes across as very controlling or manipulative, that's a cult, or that church is a cult because of this strong, controlling, dominating leadership style. So,
all right.
Yeah.
So everyone's in a cult.
Well, yeah. And what's interesting, like in fairness to, when you talk about cults, is like in early Christianity, like the early Christians were considered a cult.
Right.
Because they broke off of Judaism.
Right.
And they were
followed a guy.
And they followed a guy. And they unquestionably followed this guy.
Right.
Right? Like that's kind of the
death.
Yeah, to the death. They did. And that's part of the whole thing. Like, when you talk about like a cult, like, you like the idea of being built around an individual that you do not question and they have all authority. Well, the early Christians actually did that. The difference is obviously is that they're saying they're following the true Messiah,
right?
Jesus as God,
which they knew was coming. And
correct.
Yeah.
So they're saying it's a fulfillment of Judaism, right? Not that it's,
right.
But the way it was seen at the time, obviously, is they were just this crazy sect that began off of Judaism that began to believe in crazy stuff, and they believed some guy rose from the dead, and now they're going to follow him.
What a bunch of crap.
Yeah, exactly. And even the Greco-Roman world were like, this group's crazy, right? Like, it wasn't just the Jews. It was,
let's kill them.
Yeah, I mean, actually, because they saw them as stirring up trouble and problems and everything else. So, in fairness, even the early Christians were labeled that way.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's just that now, as Christians, we're saying, but we've remained and we've survived this long because it was true.
Because it was a really good cult.
We're the best.
The best cult.
We're the best. Absolutely. Wholeheartedly. We're the best. Yeah.
All right. That's cults.
Yes, sir.
That's a cult.
That's a cult.
All right. So what is it about a cult that makes it a cult?
Right. So we're going to talk about specifically as Christians, why do we label other groups
right
within Christian, or that, like, for example, they would say we're Christian, but we're going to, as we would say, no, you're a cult actually. Okay. And the first one I mentioned earlier, just, you're denying that Jesus is God. And so if if you deny,
is that every cult, or is that just one aspect of what could be a cult, a Christian cult?
No, it's one aspect. So let me give like 5 characteristics.
Okay.
Of
but
what,
not all of them have to be all of them.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
They can just be some of them.
Correct.
All right.
So like the first one is you deny that Jesus is God.
Okay.
Second one is you believe that only your group has the real truth about God.
Okay.
Number 3, they distort the teachings of the Bible, claiming only their leader and thus their group has the true understanding or interpretation of the Bible.
All right.
Number 4, they deny that people can be saved by faith alone in Christ, and instead there are rules and rituals one must follow to be saved.
Okay.
And
like
then
communion?
No, not like communion.
And getting baptized?
Yeah, communion and baptism was instituted by the Lord, though. Right?
When Christianity was still a cult.
Right. When early Christians were being labeled as a cult. Yes.
All right.
All right.
I'm following.
You're following. All right. And so, yeah, but we're saved by faith alone in Christ, but they would say, no, that's not right.
Okay.
And then the 5th one is defining biblical terms differently than how they've been defined throughout Orthodox Christianity.
Okay.
So, for example, even the word God is used or defined differently by groups that we would label in Christendom as cults.
Okay.
Yeah. So those are kind of the 5 characteristics that makes a cult according to the definition that, the one definition of veering away from Orthodox Christian belief, right? That's not getting into the idea of that church has become a cult because of their dominating, manipulative, control freak leadership.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So a church can be dominating and control everything, but still not be a cult.
Yeah.
If they still do all these things, then.
Yeah, I think that. I think for me the biggest part about that. Yeah, I just think we have to be careful of how we use the word cult, maybe, because I don't know if it means much of anything at this juncture.
Okay.
The way it used to, like it used to mean this, right? It used to mean, all right, these are the 5 things, like you're veering away from Orthodox Christianity, and these are kind of 5 characteristics that we can see that you're a cult.
Okay.
Where like now, I think it's because the word is used as in, I was in a local church and the senior leader was like abusive and more manipulative or dominating. I go, well, that was a cult. And maybe so, or maybe not.
Okay.
Maybe that individual just
Was a jerk.
And, but actually, is a Christian, just did not use their role, their responsibility well as a pastor or a leader.
Does the Bible talk about cults?
Yeah. Now the Bible's not using the word cult like we're using it.
Okay.
This is like, or you don't see like the word like there. Okay.
Okay.
But does the Bible make references to cults? Yes, because even in early Christianity, there were already groups, within the times of the early apostles challenging the teachings of the early apostles and thus challenging the teachings of Jesus himself.
Okay.
And so you already had groups that were, kind of fighting, if you were, over what actually the truth was. All right.
Okay.
So, and you see this especially in like the letters of 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John and the letter of Jude, where they're addressing this really a group that's come in and trying to manipulate the rest of the Christians or deceive them. And again, it all has to build around like what is actual truth. Okay.
Okay.
So in 1 John chapter 2, verse 18, John says, "Children, it's the last hour. And as you have heard that Antichrist is coming, even now many antichrists have come. By this we know that it is the last hour. They went out from us, but they did not belong to us. For if they had belonged to us, they would have remained with us. However, they went out so that it might be made clear that none of them belongs to us." In other words, what John is saying is there was a group that was within us that, claimed or were walking with us as Christians, and now they have departed from us. Okay. And so what he says now is, "But you have an anointing from the Holy One, and all of you know the truth. I have not written to you because you don't know the truth, but because you do know it, and because no lie comes from the truth. Who is the liar, if not the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ? This one is the Antichrist, the one who denies the Father and the Son. And no one who denies the Son has the Father. He who confesses the Son has the Father as well." So already at this point...
Antichrist is a really lame name. It's so dumb.
Why?
Because it's just like, ooh, I'm the bad one.
Right.
Like, wow. You suck.
Yeah, right. Right.
I never really thought about that, but how lame.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lame name.
I'm the anti-Spider-Man. That's dumb. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
You don't have the villain. You don't have the villain called Anti-Spider-Man.
Anti-Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah, that's stupid.
Yeah, and so this is like and the word like anti is like also not just like against Christ, but like another. Like, so it's kind of coming across as like, oh, we've got another gospel kind of thing, another truth. And
so that's why he's a cult.
Yeah. And so for John here, and he deals with this, you see it in 2nd John and in 3rd John. It's all centered around knowing truth. And what John's saying is these individuals were with us, they've departed from us, they no longer have the truth because they're denying that Jesus is the Christ.
Oh, okay.
That he is the Messiah. And so already within, you have these groups within early Christianity that are denying the deity of Jesus. And so this begins happening, and then we see this in Jude as well. So in Jude verses 3 through 4, Jude writes, "Dear friends, although I was eager to write you about the salvation we share, I found it necessary to write, appealing to you to contend for the faith that was delivered to the saints once for all. For some people who were designated for this judgment long ago have come in by stealth. They are ungodly, turning the grace of our God into sensuality and denying Jesus Christ, our only Master and Lord. And so again, Jude here is appealing to the fact that there's groups that there are people who come in, but they're distorting the truth. They're saying, you know what? Jesus is not God. And also we've been free from the law. We can basically go do whatever we want to do.
Too free from the law.
Yeah, too free.
Okay.
Like and what a lot of this had to do with like early Gnosticism as well.
Okay.
And so this also the sense of like what we do in the flesh doesn't matter. It's only the spirit part that matters.
Oh.
And so you can basically go do whatever you want to in the flesh. It doesn't ultimately matter. It's what's going on in the spirit that's actually, matters.
Okay.
So,
and those things aren't connected at all.
yeah. And like they create this like real hard dualism.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, like I said, there's the word cult is not really used there in scripture.
Okay.
Other than the fact that if you like trace that word back enough, like from the Latin back to you would get the idea of worship. That's where it ultimately derives from, is worship. The word worship.
So we have cult time at church.
Yes, we have cult time at church.
When people play music.
Yeah, we have cult time at church. Right. Yeah, and not just when people play music, but any act or ritual would be considered worship.
So it's all a cult.
Yeah.
I get you.
Yeah. So yeah, if we're just using the broad definition, we're a cult.
How was cult this morning? Oh, it was
wonderful.
What
if we started doing that? That'd be wild.
Do it.
Do it. If I say that on Sunday morning,
I culted so hard. Oh, power of Christ.
So like on Sunday morning, if I'm just like, hey, welcome to the cult.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, there you go.
Right.
Yeah, I'll come.
That's when you'll come. Come on, man. Yeah.
Yeah.
You just want to be part of the cult, don't you?
Oh, I love it. Yeah. My wife is dying to be a part of a cult. She watches documentaries about them all the time. It's her favorite thing.
Right.
That and murder.
Hence, dying to be part of the cult.
Dying to be part of a cult.
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
No.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah. I could see you in a cult.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Yeah. Maybe. Yeah.
Well,
no, I want to be part of a cult.
You do want to be part of it, but it's interesting though.
Yeah, I just want to be in leadership.
Right. That's what I was going to say. But you would kick back against everybody else. Yeah.
Like, no, you're wrong.
So, all right. So now I'm concerned that you might actually.
We have talked about this
cult.
before. That starting a cult would be so easy.
Yeah.
You just
you
open the Bible.
Only you would think
pick
that
a verse
way.
and go, wow, we could really spin off from that. Yeah. Somehow we have to tie it back to having sex with everyone.
Right.
And
if polygamy is not there, it's not a cult.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have the internet now, so it's so much easier or harder or easier.
Yeah, easier.
You just got to find your little internet corner.
Find your niche.
Yeah.
And you can just recruit everybody.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm just like, you're not drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, you're handing it out.
No, I'm handing it out. I'm mixing it up.
Upon your own orders.
Yeah. Just like at prom. Okay, what is the difference between a cult and just some other religion that you would say is not the right get to heaven thing to believe in?
Yeah, so for Christians, we would label cults as, groups who distort the truth while claiming to be Christian. So groups like Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, and then the other, like when you talk about religions like Islam, right?
Okay.
Buddhism, Hinduism, we would call those false religions. They're not making a claim to be Christian and just distorting the truth of Christianity.
Is Muslim only not a Christian cult because it spun off Christian?
Yeah, and that's one of the things people have actually discussed, like, actually is Islam a cult? Because they do have, obviously, they trace back their roots to the Abrahamic people, right?
Ishmael, right?
Yeah. And they have they do in their, in their religion have an understanding of who Jesus is, right?
Right.
It's just they obviously do not believe he is, God.
So he's one of their cool guys in their book.
Yeah, so he's a prophet,
Okay.
right? And so it's a.
So do they read the Bible? Do they read the New Testament?
They have some beliefs that obviously are deriving from or being informed by Old Testament scriptures and New Testament scriptures.
Okay.
But so yes, they do have those elements there, but obviously they're not holding the Bible as like canon truth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyway, I guess you could technically label them as a cult.
Okay.
But I would
cult.
say they've gone so far off in establishing their own religion away from Christianity. They're not claiming to be Christians. That's why I would label them a false religion.
They're not claiming to be Christian.
Right. That's why I would label them a false religion. So whereas like, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're claiming they have the true Christianity.
Okay. So just like how Christianity was a cult when we started,
mm-hmm.
and now we're a real religion.
Right.
That's the same for Muslims.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
They were a Jewish cult when they started, and then now they're their own thing.
Yeah, and I don't think I'd go as far as to say they were a Jewish cult.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just that they obviously do have they break away from the Abrahamic traditions, right?
Okay.
So,
all right. So, what are the biggest cults in the world?
Okay. So, and I'm gonna do this again in the way that Christians understand cults. Okay.
Okay.
And so the first one I'll say is Jehovah's Witness. And
okay.
so
why is Jehovah's Witness a biggest cult in the world?
Okay. Well, they and the Mormons. Okay. Mormons are obviously the biggest.
Okay.
Of the two groups.
All right. So first, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. So we'll get to what we're building up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for the Jehovah's Witness,
they're the ones that knock on my door.
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
In 2x2s. On bikes.
On bikes.
With white shirts.
And
black slacks.
Yes.
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 Those guys. And crew cut haircuts.
Yeah. Yes. Those guys. Every time. Yeah. Every time.
Okay.
Right. Those guys.
Yeah.
And, and they've got, anyway, how will it go? Okay. So they deny the Trinity. Okay.
They do?
Yeah. They deny that there's a Trinity of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. And because they're denying the deity of Jesus. Okay.
Oh.
And it's kind of weird. This is where remember when I said that cults change words, like what words mean.
Okay.
All right. For the Jehovah's Witnesses, this is true about Jesus. And so for Jehovah's Witness, Jehovah is the Almighty God. Okay.
God, real God.
Real God.
Capital G God.
Capital G God.
Okay.
Okay. Then you've got Jesus, who they will refer to as Mighty God, lowercase g.
Lower. What?
Right.
Okay.
So Jehovah, Almighty God.
So big M, small g.
Yeah, or Almighty with the big, yes.
Oh, Almighty God.
Almighty.
Okay.
Big G. Jesus, Mighty God, lowercase g.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Okay. So they actually believe that Jesus was Michael the archangel.
What?
Yeah.
How?
And that for example, when Michael came down and told Mary, "Hey, you're about to give birth to a son," that was actually Jesus. That was actually a pre-Christophany, as they would call it. Which is
when Jesus shows up in the Bible before Jesus shows up in the Bible.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. So they believe that these times where you see Michael is actually Jesus.
And how do they get that?
So there's several different ways that they end up there, but one of them is in 1 Thessalonians chapter 4.
Okay.
And where Jesus is, when it's told about his coming back, that he's coming back with the voice of an archangel. And so, and they go, see, that connects to the fact that he's really an archangel, therefore he's Michael. It's flimsy. I'm not saying it's not.
Okay.
But one of the things about that is, so for the Jehovah's Witness, so there's Jehovah, he creates Jesus. Okay. So Jesus is a created being, not eternal. He's created. And then
created because he was a person.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then through Jesus, most of all other creation has been created.
Okay.
Okay. And so
when God made Jesus or created Jesus with the power of creation, and that's why we're all here.
Yes, in essence.
Okay.
So for example,
so mighty God is the God that's talked about in Genesis 1.
That's all. Yes.
Mighty God, Jesus.
God. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So he's creating. Okay.
All right.
And so they
all this is culty.
Yes.
Okay.
to be clear.
All
yes.
Right.
So here's Jesus. He created. Jesus comes, but Jesus comes and he lives a life as a perfect man. Okay. He lives a life as a perfect man.
So they got that part right.
Okay. But then he dies. Okay. And he dies. He is buried. When he's buried, they teach that basically he just dissolves, like gone,
like Obi-Wan.
Right, like Obi-Wan. And so Obi-Wan gone. All right. And so therefore they're denying any sense of bodily resurrection of Jesus.
So what do they do with that part of the Bible then? Okay,
so when
Michael shows back up?
Right. Well, yes. I mean, in essence, that Jesus has a spirit body. Okay. And but they never really do a great job of defining what the spirit body actually is or does or looks like. But spirit body, and then hence he's really Michael again.
Okay.
And so they they would call it like a recreated body. Like they're not believing any of us have like a resurrection, but like we're rather like we're recreated into like this spirit body. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. And so, but there's obviously biblically for me as a Christian, like there's just tons wrong with this, right?
Because he didn't resurrect then.
Right. Well, yeah. And like we actually believe in a bodily resurrection, right? So for example, the end of the Gospel of John, or toward the end of the Gospel of John, when Jesus shows Thomas his hands, right, and his side, and he's like, touch them. Right here.
Yeah.
Here's the holes. The nail holes are right. Mm-hmm. Put your hands on them. Right? Yeah. And so
that's what I would have done.
That's absolutely what you would have done. Right. And so Jesus saying, here, obviously there's a bodily resurrection. Like he's looking like he did when he died. He has holes in his hands still. Right. And so for Jesus, it's like, here's my bodily resurrection. And so obviously they're denying that that's the case. And they're also going to deny the fact that obviously that he is eternal God. Okay. And so like when Thomas there says, my Lord and my God, Jehovah's Witnesses will go, well, yeah, he's a God.
Right. He's little G.
Right. But he's not. And so now, now we're actually getting into a little bit of a polytheism.
So that makes them a cult.
Yeah, it makes them a cult. And
because they changed all of who Jesus is.
Yeah, right.
Every single bit of it, except for being a perfect person.
Perfect guy, right.
Okay.
And they would say, he was here in his human form and then died. And now, I mean, and of course with the Jehovah's Witnesses, you've got there's the idea of, all right, there was the 144,000, okay, that are like, they're already sealed with God, okay? Like in other words, their eternity, their salvation is taken care of, okay? They actually believe Jesus has already returned. I don't know if you're familiar with this or not.
No.
Yeah, so they believe Jesus had a secret returning in 1914. And because they predicted that, and there's some reasons why, but they predicted that Jesus' return was going to be in 1914. There was going to be full-on Armageddon.
Wait, how long have they been around?
So they've been around since like the 1800s.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And so now they began to say, hey, 1914, Jesus is returning.
Okay.
Okay. And so Jesus is returning. Well, and Armageddon was going to happen. And of course, it doesn't seem like he returned. Doesn't seem like there's been Armageddon. So now they say there's a secret return, that he secretly came.
Oh, that's what they now say?
Yeah.
Oh.
That he secretly came.
So it's all over now.
And
we're in Revelation.
Right. We're in, like, basically he is ruling the earth now.
What?
Yeah.
So all of Revelation's over?
Not that all
no, we'd be in like some period
not
of
that
time
all
of...
Revelation is completely over, right?
Okay.
But so Jesus has come, he's ruling, and there's some different views of this. Did he come and now he's kind of ruling from heaven? Did he come and now he's ruling from the watchtower in New York City?
What?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jesus is in New York.
Possibly.
Right now.
Possibly.
According to
possibly
whatever we're talking about. Jehovah's Witnesses.
Possibly.
Are Jehovah's Witnesses the LDS ones?
No, that's the Mormons.
Oh, okay.
That's Mormons.
So many acronyms.
There really are.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's in essence for Jehovah's Witness. And that's why we would call them a cult. Like,
all right,
just the basic denying of Jesus, the denying the bodily resurrection of Jesus. I mean, that's enough in and of itself.
So basically, once you all believe that stuff, you don't believe what Christians need to believe to go to heaven.
Right.
And that's just that. Like, you're out.
Right.
All right.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, if you're not part of them, you're not part of them. You know?
But I mean, like for heaven.
Oh, right. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you're not with them, no chance.
But I'm saying from our perspective, what they believe just off the bat with what you just said,
correct.
You're not getting into heaven.
Correct.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's sucks for them, I guess.
Well,
you know what I think about these cults, though?
What's that?
It's like they get so close, and they still have to spend eternity in hell. You know what I mean?
Well,
like they put in all this religious practice and all this, all this time and energy into believing what they do and riding their bikes around and telling everybody about it, and then they still go to hell.
Yeah,
that really sucks. And they're like right there. They just had to believe one little thing differently, and then they'd be in heaven.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
Yeah, and well, but that one little thing has become one massive thing, right? And okay, and part of it too is this, and I didn't mention this, and I probably should, because I'm talking about just the theological side, but then there is the controlling element. Like, you are not allowed, if you're a Jehovah's Witness, you are absolutely not allowed to question the Watchtower group, the leaders.
Oh, the Jesus in New York.
Right.
People.
You are absolutely not allowed to question them.
Okay.
You do not interpret the Bible for yourself. Like, you follow hook, line, and sinker everything they say, and you do not challenge.
And why do they say not to do that? Like, what are they? Why do we think that they're the best? The Watchtower people.
Why do they think they're the best?
Yeah.
Or the people who follow, like...
Right. Why do the people who follow...
Well, because they think they have the truth.
Okay.
Right? And so if you're convinced that these leaders are the ones who are guarding, protecting the truth, teaching the truth,
right,
then you just don't dare question that. So that's Jehovah's Witness. I mean, in a very... kind of rough sketch of it.
Just a whole big old cult that's been around forever.
Well, not around forever, but
I mean,
yes, this
for a long time.
Since the 19th century.
Forever in cult years.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they've been around for what was it? Like 150 years at this point.
That's a lot of years.
That's a lot of years for a cult. That's what I'm saying. I mean,
So Jesus has been up there for 110 years in New York.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Huh.
And again, it's not always. Again, some people will read that and go, "Well, no, actually, he's in a heaven or some other place."
Right.
But yeah, they do believe he's
New York is heaven.
returned. So, at least that's where the Watchtower is.
Okay.
Headquarters is. So,
Okay, so why is Mormons the biggest and greatest cult in Christian history?
biggest and greatest cult in Christian history. They are, without question, the largest cult
Okay.
that has come out of Christianity.
Ever. Okay.
100%. And so they're large. They've got, they've had a massive movement. They had a massive financial backing.
Right.
From its origin, it had, a good financial backing.
Okay.
And so so that's it. So it has,
I've read half this book.
yeah. And like Jehovah's Witnesses, they also do a lot of recruiting.
Yes.
So
They don't do it on bikes though.
nope, not on bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They drive around in cars.
And like in every, if you're a follower within Mormonism, you're going to go and do a 2-year mission,
Yeah.
right? Out of sometime after high school, you're going to go and serve do a mission for 2 years.
It
And
sounds horrible.
And in doing so, you will evangelize and witness for those couple of years. So they're very intentional about growing their group.
Okay. So why do they hate Jesus, and what did they do to screw with his legacy?
Why do they hate Jesus? Well, okay. What's interesting with Mormons is for Joseph Smith, the founder of Mormons.
The guy with a lot of plates.
Yeah, the plates.
Yeah.
And we'll get into all this too. But we're going to skip ahead. Maybe we'll go back. But for Joseph Smith, he didn't necessarily hate Jesus, okay? But he completely believed that all these different denominations were, to use his word, an abomination. And so, so
he was right about that.
So he believed that Catholic Church, all these different denominations, they've all got Jesus wrong.
Okay.
And so he was going to set about getting Jesus right. Okay.
Okay.
Now, one of the things...
But also in the process, he wanted to sleep with everyone.
Yes, and we do get into the point of polygamy. And actually, when he issued the polygamy kind of doctrine,
mm-hmm.
There was in the release of it was a threat to his first wife that she could not leave or abandon him,
okay,
or take issue with it. So it was,
it's from Jesus.
It was very controlling from point one.
Okay.
Now, what's interesting for the Mormons is that they, when they were first beginning in the Midwest, and beginning to grow, they were persecuted pretty heavily, and at times just, treated horribly. And one of the things was the issue of polygamy. Another of the things was believing that Christianity was wrong, right? And in an area, in a geographical location, in the early 1800s,
real Christians made them big by persecuting them.
I do think that some of that had, and it wasn't just Christians who were persecuting them, but just people in general, right? And but they were pushing up against, think about it. You're the early 1800s. Most people are going to church. Just reality, and so, or at least had a Christian worldview,
mm-hmm.
right? Even if they weren't going to church, they could be deists, but they still had a Christian worldview for the most part. And now here comes this group that they begin to push up against that. Say, and not just push them against it, but flat out just say you're wrong.
Okay.
And you've had it wrong. Everybody's had it wrong until us.
Right.
But in that persecution, they found themselves having to move a lot and kind of from location to location. And eventually Joseph Smith gets arrested. And then there's like an attempt to break him out. There's a shootout and he's killed.
Oh.
Yeah. And that only kind of furthered the legacy behind it all.
Right.
Because now he's seen as a martyr.
Perfect start of a cult.
you couldn't write it up any better.
Still have all his plays.
Yeah, and so because Smith died in 1844.
Okay,
that's when he's killed, and then Brigham Young. You're familiar with like BYU.
Oh yeah.
Then Brigham Young.
Wait, so do you think Smith was trying to start a new religion, or did Brigham Young start the new cult religion thing?
Yeah, I think Joseph Smith thought he was reforming the church.
Do you think
restoring, maybe even restoring the church to its original intent,
but through wrong things or right things? Like, is he the one that started on a path of going toward cult, or did the next guy do it?
No, he was.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean because he's already breaking away from Scripture.
Okay.
Right?
All right, how?
And so he did not believe that canonicity was closed. In other words, what I mean by that is, for us as Christians, we believe the Bible was, like, the New Testament was canonized in the 300s, and it was, in other words, these are the New Testament books that we are going to follow, right?
Okay.
That we're going to believe in. That when we say canon, the word means standard. We believe this has set the standard for our faith,
right?
For our religion.
And there's some verse in there somewhere that says, in canon, that says no adding to canon, right?
Right. Yes. I mean, if you take the words of John at the end, toward the end of Revelation,
I remember this. Yes.
Yeah, where he says, "Don't add to these.
Don't add to these."
Yeah. And so for Joseph Smith, so he believes that there is a continual revelation of God, or a progressive revelation of God, where there was that. But now I've gotten another revelation. Okay?
But if it's continual, then we can keep having revelations that contradict each other till the end of time for whatever fits the best thing that we want now, right now.
Yes. And so...
How convenient.
Yes. And so there's...
Starting a cult so easy.
Yeah. And so, for example, there's things in the Book of Mormon that they've had to change because...
Of new revelation.
Of new revelation. And really because of societal pressures.
Okay.
Right?
Like no more polygamy.
Right.
Okay.
And so they have the Book of Mormon, and then there's a couple of other books that have been seen as sacred text as well,
right,
outside the Book of Mormon. And so anyway, they've continued this movement, and so that is kind of the beginning point for me as a Christian of going, we've got a cult happening,
right? Is
when they believe they can add to the revelation of the Bible.
Okay.
Right?
Which means change it.
Which means, 100% change it. And it's...
So what do they do to Jesus?
Well, so oh man, I really don't even know where to start with this. So because, all right, so here's the deal. They do believe that there's a God the Father.
Okay.
So I need to back it up to here.
Yeah, one check for the Mormons.
Right. Actually, it's going to become an X right here.
All right.
They believe that God the Father was a created being himself.
So there's bigger God.
Bigger God. That
Where?
The Father earned his way into being a God, and then allowed them to create the earth.
Okay.
And then there was a God before him, and a God apparently, we don't really know how far back this goes.
Okay. That's what they actually believe?
100%.
What?
100%.
Okay.
And so
how do you know that? From plates?
Well, yes.
Okay.
They start filling in some, again, the whole idea of revelation, right? Not just with the plates, but...
Oh, I got you. Okay, so we just found this out.
Right.
Okay.
Like, we're just, they're getting revelation, and this is what's happening.
Glad they told us.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Right. I mean... And so they believe like the Father has like a body of flesh and bones as tangible as man's, and basically saying God was like us and now we can be like him. Okay.
Oh, so we're gods.
Correct.
Oh,
yes, that's where this is eventually all going.
All right. Well,
so we've got God the Father. Okay. And then...
So eventually I could be God if I believed in Mormonism.
Yeah, you could be a God.
I could be the God.
Well, not the God, because even God the Father is not really the God.
Well, I could get adopted.
Yeah,
I could get adopted.
Like that actually is a good word because like it's the whole idea of children. Yeah. It is actually the idea of here's my son, like child, and then he's the firstborn among many brethren. You're part of the brethren.
I could be Meghan Markle.
What? You can be Meghan
and in line for the throne. Right? I could be the Meghan of Mormonism.
The Megan of Mormonism.
Yeah.
That's your new calling card now. The Megan of Mormonism.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
This is perfect.
Yes. I don't know
I love
cults. At all. Oh Lord. All right. So
all right, keep going with Jesus.
All right. And so the same thing with Jesus. So now the idea of Jesus is that God the Father had sex with Mary. That's how she got impregnated with Jesus.
That had to hurt.
Because he's a God?
Yeah.
Yeah. So God the Father.
Dang.
And so
that baby was up there.
All right. Well, we take that one out.
Wow.
All right.
I mean,
that's definitely not good view approved.
No.
All right. So, anyways, all right.
No, the baby was up there in heaven.
All right. So, all right. Anyways, enough of this.
Cults are fun.
Cults are, yeah.
All right. Sorry.
All right. So, yeah. So that's how Jesus came to be. Okay.
So he's just a kid.
He's just a guy.
And he's going to be next in line at some point.
For Father not really God. Like a next in line. Now, like the idea of, and that's that idea again of him being the firstborn among many brethren, right? Like we're part of that brethren. And so like most of mankind will enter heaven. Now they have like these 3 levels of heaven. Okay. Right. And only Mormons will enter the celestial heaven. All right. And so for you to enter into like the celestial heaven, the highest heaven, you have to be within the Mormon church.
Right.
So the Church of Latter-day Saints, right? Yeah. That's where you've got to be.
That's culty.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, sure. Okay. And
all right. What's heaven level 2?
Heaven level 2 is the terrestrial, and then telestial is level 1.
What?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
that's why they always think they have to marry each other so that they can spend eternity in the real heaven together. Mm-hmm.
Correct.
Okay.
You've got to marry within the church to stay within the church, right?
Right.
Or the person has to join the church.
Right.
Okay. Now, one of the things that I think is worth mentioning is Joseph Smith's journey in all of this started with a vision that he had when he was 14 years old.
Okay.
And so he's 14. He's having a vision. He has another vision when he's 17.
Do you think these are real visions or
no,
BS?
I don't.
Okay.
And there's, you could get into the whole long story.
He started a cult when he was 14.
Well, the cult didn't start out completely that way when he was 14. And so he was, I think, 21 when they actually began.
21, that's it?
Yeah.
That's so easy.
Yeah. And
this is the easiest thing to do.
And so basically what happened was...
People are dumb.
Yeah. So what happened was he found these plates. Like he says,
yeah.
All right. So he got these plates, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
he's... finest of China.
Right. And then he's interpreting... he's writing down or interpreting what's the plates here, and he's writing it down, and it's Egyptian hieroglyphics kind of stuff.
Okay.
And this is all happening, and then this farmer buys into all of it and mortgages his farm to help start this religion. That's why I say it was financed from point one.
Oh.
And so it's and I'm giving a kind of a crude intro here, but my point just being is we have to realize how young he was.
Brigham Young.
Yes, he was part of it too. All right. So anyways, I guess this is a hard thing for me. It's like, who's listening to a young kid in essence? And I know 21 was different than 21 now, like 21 back then was, but still, like, who's going to listen to one person make this claim and go, you know what? That's right.
A guy who wants power.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And whether he was like really just a power guy or just like tripped out and just like wanted a new religion, you know, or whatever it may be, you know, who actually really knows where he was coming from and his motives and all of this. But then obviously as it continues to develop and grow, yeah, there's the control factor that happens. There's the authority and the polygamy part that happens. And so, and I think the polygamy part is brought up a lot, but that's, to me, that's definitely one component of it, one element of it. But, you know, it's more than that. It's the totality of, man, really completely gutted the New Testament, right? Like, Jehovah's Witnesses are kind of like reinterpreting the New Testament, right?
Okay.
Like they're trying to put in, like, when Thomas is saying, my Lord and my God, like they may put in there the Lord and the God, because they do believe Jesus is a God, right?
Yeah.
So that's not but like what Mormons are doing is not just like reinterpreting or rephrasing some words in the New Testament. Like they're, in all intents and purposes, gutting it and
creating like a whole new thing.
And creating a whole new religion.
Okay.
Yeah. While saying they're Christian.
Okay.
Right? Because they weren't, I mean, like, modern day Mormons, I feel like, have packaged it better. Modern day Mormons are really like, no, we're Christian, you know, we're monotheist, you know, we're norm.
Right.
But that has not always been the case. They have not, they're polytheists. I mean, they believe in gods, you know?
Yeah, but then real God killed all the other gods, so now we're monotheists
again, right? And so, but like, there's all this, and so I feel like Mormons probably have done a better job of packaging it for modern day appeal.
Well, there's a lot to talk about with cults.
There are.
There's several of them.
Yes.
They're large.
Yes.
They use plates.
Some of them do.
They knock on doors.
Yep.
And we need to finish the episode.
Yes, we do.
Go to Patreon, $5. Like, subscribe, share, comment, follow down. You can follow the podcast on Facebook and Instagram at When I Heard This Podcast, and exit logos at When I Heard This. Ring the notification bell. Tell everyone that you know about the show. And go to the website where there's t-shirts. You can follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Nate Robinsoff, and you can follow Joseph on Instagram at
Rev Joe T.
This has been the When I Heard This Podcast. We'll see you guys next time.
Bye.